Hello and welcome. It is the time for the update, and just recall you need to update in the App Store, whether that's the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, for the full update to be enabled. And before we get into the updates, in the patch notes, let's just have a look around and see what has changed. So, if we look in the shop, our bundles look the same. We got the same Throg bundle. We got our daily offers, which is the same. And the first thing we notice, the token shop looks significantly different. We've got this section here where we can choose between different cards. One is the ultimate variants, which costs 5,000 tokens, which as a free-to-play player is not something I would ever be interested in unless there was something I really, really liked. We have the new cards, or the weekly spotlight, which I assume would be a Series 5 card. Or any new releases, I assume. I'm not sure. We'll have to look at the patch update. And then the pinned card. Interestingly enough, we've got a Series 3 card pin because Bast has recently dropped from Series 4 to Series 3. And we can talk about our thoughts on buying these new Series 3 cards for 1,000 collector tokens in this market as an early Pool 3 player, which is where I'm at and where I'm comfortable discussing. And then we can have the rest of the shop, which looks pretty much the same, I think. These are prices in my local currency, but that's that. So that's the first immediate change. That's my collections. I've gotten a couple of extra cards now. And I don't think we've got any extra game modes. Other thing I noticed when I played a couple of matches is the graphics are significantly different in terms of the backgrounds and animations and things. We can have a discussion about that. But to find out exactly what has changed, we can look in the patch notes, which were posted at April 18th. So let's have a look at that. So again, a reminder to update the game in your app store, otherwise these changes will not be reflected. Okay, so let's just read this and see what our thoughts are. So first, token shop updates, weekly spotlight, which is what we were just looking at. When a new Series 5 card is released, it will be immediately featured in its own section for its first week in Marvel Snap. Once you buy the weekly spotlight card, this section will be hidden until the next new card is released. If you want the newest cards at release, here's what you've been waiting for. So that's a nice way for players who want to access the new Series 5 card immediately. As an early Pool 3 player, that isn't really relevant, but if you had an excess amount of tokens available, or you had a particular card you were waiting for to be released, this is a good way to get them on release. Whether that is of good value, I guess depends on how complete your collection is, and how long you're willing to wait, versus the amount of tokens you're willing to spend. Again, for me, I won't be spending any 5,000 token cards. And we can have a discussion about that separately. Ultimate variants are some of the most epic variants in the game. We felt they deserved their own section too. We're moving ultimate variants out of the way of seeing Series 4 and 5 cards into their own rotation for those who want to make your decks that much cooler. This is good because I'm only interested in seeing the Series 4 and 5 cards as opposed to the variants, which I, as a free-to-play player, won't have the means of purchasing in a viable and sustainable manner. Series 4 and Series 5, this section functions nearly the same as previously, but only features Series 4 and Series 5 cards. This section will feature a card you don't own from all the currently available Series 4 or 5 cards and rotates every 8 hours. Series 5 cards will be added to this section once they leave the weekly spotlight. For early Pool 3 players and free-to-play players, I don't think this particularly makes sense unless you're looking to buy a Series 5 Thanos or Galactus, or I'm not sure if Kang rotates out of the store. But if you're not collection complete, I guess you wouldn't necessarily want to spend your tokens this way. Again, this hasn't really changed from the way it functioned previously. Game board update. We made some updates to our game board. Check out the new art and effects. That's also always welcome to see. Seasonal series drops. Some cards have dropped down to a lower series, and these are particularly interesting cards from series 4 to 3 particularly. So we've got Shuri, Bast, the Valkyrie, which are all excellent cards. Black Panther, Super Scroll. I'm not sure what Super Scroll does, so I'll have to have a look into that. And Black Panther is a pretty good card. Cards dropping from series 5 to 4. Ghost, Stature, and Modok. Great for discard kind of decks, or Stature with the Black Bolt, I believe. Ghost is good for making, final turn plays if you want your on reveals to happen later. So that would be an interesting one to have, but not a staple I would necessarily put in every deck. Alright, general updates. Players that reach infinite rank will only match against other infinite rank players. I guess this is really good for content creation, practicing playing against other humans. I wonder if that will make queue times longer. I wish there was a practice mode so you could try playing against an AI or something though. When you tap on a card for more details in the shop or collection, the card detail screen now features artist credits, card series labels, series 3, 4, 5, and variant variety label, rare, super rare, or ultimate. I think that's particularly good if you want to know what series a particular card is. So I think that's very useful, and being able to know the artist and such is also a very, very nice touch. Variants doesn't affect me, but again, if you're playing this card and you the game and you like seeing the different kinds of artwork, then that would be appreciated as well. When inspecting cards in game, you can now flip them to see the card back in full detail. We've also updated other areas of viewing card backs to show their 3D details. I think that's really good. If you remember my last video, I was trying to show off the last card back. The card back with the, I think it's a Cosmo card back. But anyways, I wasn't really able to demonstrate it, and I was trying to click on the card to show the card back, and I think they've actually implemented it in that way, but I guess we'll have to see in game. Roughly 10 hours of gameplay. Players will stop earning season pass XP from gameplay for the remainder of the day. Hopefully you're not playing for more than 10 hours a day, but I guess it could potentially be negative. Collection level track has been extended. Okay. Well, we're not anywhere close to reaching that. Audio. New card sounds for Skurgo. Nice. New location sounds for Camp Lay. Nice. Added voiceover support for Thai and Indonesian. Nice. Balance updates. In the wake of our last balance change, we saw the metagame settle into a much healthier shape than it had been before. However, we were too shallow with our adjustments to Shuri Taskmaster decks, and Lockjaw Leech Shells, both with and without Thanos, have remained solid contenders. Today's changes aim to push both of those decks off their clear top spots. Outside of the Shuri Taskmaster, the metagame is looking healthy on our internal metrics. We've definitely seen a couple of Shuri Taskmasters so far. I don't think my collection level is high enough to see that with great frequency, but now that I'm being paired with mostly human players after reaching Infinite, that may have become a more significant problem, but I guess we're expecting a bigger meta shakeup. So card update Shuri, previous 4-2 on reveal, double the power of the next card you play, has been updated to a 4-2 on reveal. If you play your card here, double its power. Developer comments, we considered a number of changes to Shuri, but they all tended to ruin her current decks. Some even theoretically risk making a new monster with different parts. That's not a great risk to run when balancing a problematically strong card. The change we're making today may seem small and subtle, but we expect it to be impactful and retain the same flow of play for her existing decks, which is a consistent goal in our balance philosophy. This nerf removes Cosmo's protective capacity for her target, makes single card answers like Valkyrie easier to aim, and indirectly buffs lane control elements like Professor X. We're taking a risk here in that this nerf could leave Shuri in still a strength outlier. If so, we'll react quickly. Interesting. I haven't played with Shuri enough to be able to comment on this deck, but it seems overall that the community is responding positively, although people will start to find other decks that are less vulnerable, I guess. I think there will still be a lot of Shuri hate in terms of the deck composition people build. But anyways, we'll see how that lays out. Leech previous 5-3 on reveal, remove the abilities from all cards in your opponent's hand. Update 5-3 at the start of turn 6. Remove all abilities from cards in your opponent's hand. Developer comments, it's never been our goal for Leech to be a heavily played card. That's a very interesting statement to say. Why would you make a card and not want it to be played in the game? And we understand that it's been a frustration lately. When it's happening, it usually means a finisher is generically strong against pure power, like Leech Leader, and or a deck can play Leech earlier than turn 5 too often, like Lockjaw Thanos. We've tried in the past to weaken the stronger cards in those decks, but it's been a balance and design obstacle. Thus, we've decided to remove the early Leech from the equation. Leech is designed to counter some powerful in-game cards and combinations from a unique angle without any setup, which is important to have around in the event those decks begin to overperform. This change should let him fulfill that role when necessary without ever making him a foundational piece of the metagame. Interesting. Sorry, taking a sip there. At the start of turn 6. Remove all abilities from cards in your opponent's hand. Interesting. Do you draw a card before the start of your turn? Or do you start the turn and then draw the card? I think that's interesting. And then there's the problem of playing it early. Is that a strict buff? Strict nerf, sorry. Remove the abilities from all cards in your opponent's hand. It's not strictly a nerf, but interesting. Always affects turn 6 then. And it's no longer an on reveal, it's just an ability. That is also sort of a buff, because you can't Cosmo it or something. Anyways, we'll see how that plays out. Lockjaw. Previous 3-2, after you play a card here, swap it with a card in your deck. Update 3-2, after you play a card here, swap it with a card in your deck once per turn. I think people will react negatively to this, generally speaking. I think it used to be fun to play, like, let's say if you had a bunch of low-cost cards that you could play into Lockjaw. Like, I had a deck where you could put Lockjaw. You had Lockjaw, and then you could play the next turn Iceman, Scorpion, and I think that would have been really nice. And then you get 2 powerful drops, but that's not, it's not functionally capable with this update. And I assume that will be a big problem with Thanos and his stones as well. Developer comments: Lockjaw is a fun and exciting card, but each trigger of this good boy basically draws a card and generates up to 6 energy at random. That's a lot of variance to have in multiple competitive decks. As we add card, new and improved ways to sidestep Lockjaw's risks will also become available. Since we believe the most powerful and frustrating use of Lockjaw is triggering him multiple times in a turn, often with a snap along the way, we're changing that. Limiting Lockjaw to 1 swap each turn forces the player to develop their board without letting them sprint ahead or spring a late surprise. This will make Lockjaw simpler to play against and less potent in decks incidentally playing a lot of cheap cards. I don't know if they're incidentally playing a lot of cheap cards. I think they're very intentionally playing a lot of cheap cards. It's not strictly a nerf, because sometimes you do want that big card to stay. However, it reduces the explosive potential, I guess. It changes the play pattern for the card. Personally, that makes me less interested in playing Lockjaw. Lockjaw was my first free Series 3 card unlock. I was thinking of buying Thanos and then making a Lockjaw deck. I've got 5,200 tokens, saving up to 6,000, so I was going to buy Thanos, but that may change, and I'm looking to build another deck at this point, especially with these changes. America Chavez, previous 6-9. You always draw this card on turn 6 and not before, and now it's updated 6-9. Starts on the bottom of your deck, draw this on turn 6. First interaction in mind is Cable. So Cable is now always drawing America Chavez, right? And Yondu is not sniping, it's sniping someone else. Developer comments: previously, if you were about to draw America Chavez, you would just draw the next card instead. This means that over the course of the game, she's likely to be the top card of your deck. Thus, this has been largely unimportant outside of Yondu, but it does restrict our ability to print cards that interact with the top of your deck. We expect this update to have little impact on America Chavez's functionality overall. I think that's reasonably fair. Jubilee, previous for 1 on reveal, add a card from your deck to this location. Update for 1 on reveal, add the top card of your deck to this location. Developer comments: some of our players may remember a time when Jubilee had this ability. Back then, Jubilee would often be a 4/10 as she'd pull America Chavez consistently. We decided at the time to change Jubilee's effect instead of America Chavez's, as the format was a much simpler change to communicate. However, we're looking to design cards that interact with the top of your deck in the future, so we're bringing back this design too. We expect this update to have little impact on Jubilee for the time being. I think that's reasonable. Leader, previous 6/7 on reveal, copy all cards your opponent played to the location right of here but on your side. Update 6/2 On reveal, copy the enemy's card with the highest power played this turn but on your side. Developer comments who were clearly too harsh on Leader with his previous nerf and were dismayed that action became a go-to example for how ruinous a nerf can be. A balanced philosophy is to preserve as much playability as we reasonably can when weakening cards, and we didn't succeed here previously. With this change, we're aiming to bring his strength back up to a playable spot for a 6 cost card, but still avoid the oppressive impact his original form had. We have erred on the cautious side with his power for now because some previous defenses against the original Leader, such as playing weaker cards before a strong one, no longer apply. Interesting. I never really have had exposure to Leader, but the fact that they're able to admit that they made a mistake and make some changes, some corrective changes, is a very positive sign from the developer. We got a lot of bug fixes, which I won't go over. It's good that they're starting to address some Kang issues. Any particular ones that I'm interested in? More Kang issues here. They've got a known issues list, which is also very, very good. This one affects me a lot. It can be hard to add or delete letters in the deck name on Android. That is definitely a problem for me. That's a lot of known issues, but I'm glad that they're aware of them and that they can start to address them. Okay. I guess lastly, I might as well address this here, although I do not think many people will be watching up to the length of where I'm commenting on for this video. Maybe I think I'll make a separate video for it, but I'd just like to quickly mention it, and I'll probably discuss it now that we're here. As an early Pool 3 player, do I think that it's worth it to try to get these 1,000 cost step down Series 4 to 3 cards for 1,000 collector tokens? Is that what they're called? Tokens? So previously what you could do is, instead of just having Series 4 and 5 cards in this section, you would have 3, 4, and 5. Series 5 cards, as they still do, cost 6,000 tokens. Series 3 would cost 3,000 tokens, and a Series 4 would cost 3,000 tokens, and a Series 3 would cost 1,000 tokens. They've now removed the ability to buy the Series 3 cards for 1,000 tokens. So, I guess the rationale previously for buying a lot of Series 3 cards early with your tokens is so that you could have a functional series early Pool 3 deck quite early on. And you could escape, I guess, or make your Pool 3 complete much earlier and be into the later stages of the game. But now that you've lost the ability to buy those Series 3 cards for 1,000 tokens, your progression will be much slower. And even, I think, if you buy a step down card of Series 4 to Series 3, you still often don't have a lot of cards to build around anyway. Like, for example, I'm very interested in Bast, which is a Series 3 card now, that I could buy right now for 1,000 tokens. But I do not think I have the other supporting pool 3 cards to make a good deck out of this, on the basis of other YouTube videos and deck lists that I've seen for Bast. So does it make sense for me to buy Bast? I do not think so. But I'll leave him pinned in our store for now, just to see if I can collect some of the other pool 3 cards that are relevant and perhaps buy Bast in the future. The alternative is to buy Thanos or Galactus, who will not rotate or not spend any tokens until Series 3 complete. I'm more inclined to lean that way and not spend any tokens at all. I do think that I have enough pieces to make a reasonably functional Series 3 deck. Not Series 3, a Pool 3 deck. With some cards I would like to fetch from the seasonal Series 3 free card that you can claim. Usually you're missing like 3 or 4 pieces. So over 3 to 4 months, I imagine you could complete a very functional Pool 3 deck that does not require any Series 4 or 5 cards. So that is my general opinion. I'll probably make a more fleshed out video about that in the future, but I hope my insights and quick overview have been useful to some of you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.